one of the things that you were involved in your last job, as it were, when you were the Home Affairs spokesman, was the Andy Coulson business. And you said some extremely robust things about the danger of bringing Andy Coulson into the Number 10 operation. Can I ask, once you had joined the coalition, whether you raised any of that with the Prime Minister yourself?
I certainly raised it with Nick, and Nick raised it with the Prime Minister, and it was very clear, and it was made very clear to us that this was a personal appointment of the Prime Minister. It wasn't a government appointment, and therefore we didn't have any standing to object to it. But it was very clear from what I had said previously that I think, the big reputational risks were being run.
So given what you were saying, what Lord Ashdown, we read this morning, was saying, what Alan Rusbridge of The Guardian was saying to him directly, what does it say about the Prime Minister's judgment, do you think? Well,
the Prime Minister has said that he wanted to give Andy Coulson a second chance, and that's a very commendable thing to do in life. The reality is that there were very serious risks being run there. We knew with Andy Coulson, anybody in charge of a newspaper needs to know what's going on, and at the very least either Andy Coulson was complicit in criminal acts, or alternatively, he was a very incompetent editor by the standards of Fleet Street.
So given that, it was a very strange thing, presumably, in your view, for the Prime Minister to give him that second chance.
Well, I think the truth is that both Labour and the Conservatives over many years have had an extremely cosy relationship with the Murdoch press. And hiring Coulson in the first place was seen as a way into getting a relationship with the Murdoch press. And after all, the Murdoch press did back the Conservatives very vigorously during the general election campaign.
Do you think there was something seamy? I was going to say corrupt, but that's going too strong. Something sticky and unpleasant about that relationship?
I certainly don't think that it is healthy when one particular newspaper proprietor, who happens to be the biggest newspaper proprietor in the country and has a very substantial share of a media organisation in the form of BSkyB. I don't think it's healthy when politicians take that sort of attitude towards him. We had it from Tony Blair, who flew right the way across the world to pay court to Rupert Murdoch, and we had it again from David Cameron. And I think that we need to try and move to a healthier relationship between the media and the political class.
There's a vote coming up in the House of Commons this week suggesting that the BSkyB takeover should be delayed until after the criminal investigation is over, because it involves the fit and proper person part of the takeover law for broadcasting. Do you agree that should happen? There should be a delay?
I think we'll obviously have to look at the details of the motion before deciding what should be done in terms of the voting. But there are two separate processes here. One is that Ofcom can, at any time, investigate whether the people running one of our broadcast organisations are fit and proper people. And that's not associated with the question of clearing the merger.
And in your view, should that be done?
Well, my colleague Simon Hughes has already asked Ofcom to look at that and has had preliminary replies. And I think clearly it is relevant to that issue, because we need to know, and I believe we should have a personal assurance from Rupert Murdoch, for example, that these practices, these illegal practices, didn't merely take place on the, were confined to the news of the world.
You think other newspapers were involved as well?
There are rumours at the moment that there are civil actions against the Sun. There have been rumours even that the Sunday Times may be involved in this. And I think we should have a clear assurance from Rupert Murdoch that he believes that none of his other titles have been involved in these activities. Because clearly, if this is very widespread through News Corp, then that is very relevant to the issue of a fit and proper person running a broadcasting organisation.
So putting the vote in the Commons to one side, do you think it would be right and proper to go ahead with the takeover in the next few weeks while all of this is still up in the air?
Well, my understanding is that there's been such an enormous response to the consultation that Jeremy Hunt has put out there that I suspect it will take a considerable time to understand exactly what all the people who responded to that consultation are saying. But the key test for Jeremy Hunt in the way that that procedure has run is about media plurality. In other words, about the extent to which the media are diverse. And there is a very important issue there, because I think it is crucial that the press in particular, but all press and broadcast, are diverse, that we are genuinely a liberal democracy with a lot of different voices.
It'll be a very interesting test next week for Liberal Democrat MPs, which way they go on this, I suspect.